Shabuot Shalom. In this study, we will be bridging a commonly misunderstood Torah passage with the New Testament to understand the reason behind the deaths of Ananias and Sapphira. So let's build from the foundation of Torah. There is a seemingly obscure passage in Torah that states, "You shall not boil a kid in the milk of his mother." And this verse is stated 3 times. So what does it mean? Let's start by looking at what it doesn't say. It doesn't say, "You shall not boil a kid in the milk of a cow," or even another goat. It says, "in the milk of his mother." So this is not a restriction on meat and dairy. To understand this verse, we need to look at the occurrences of it. The first time it is in Exodus 23 concerning the feast. The second in Exodus 34 concerning the feast. And the third in Deuteronomy 14 between the dietary law and tithing. So this verse pertains to sacrifices. There is no sacrifice that is presented to the priest already prepared. Every animal offered has to be presented live to ensure it meets the requirements of being unblemished. Once it is accepted, the priest burns it on the altar entirely if it is a burnt offering to God, eats it if it is a sin offering, or takes his commanded portion and gives the rest to the offerer to eat if it is a peace offering. So while the word Bashal is elsewhere translated boiled, the fact that a prepared animal cannot be presented precludes it from being the correct interpretation in this particular case. So let's look for other uses of this word. The very first use is in Joseph's interpretation of the baker and cupbearer's dream. We see the word used for grapes ripening on the vine. So if we replace the word boil with ripen, this verse reads, "You shall not ripen a kid in the milk of his mother." Now, because we have seen that sacrifices must be inspected for blemishes, the natural conclusion is that this verse is forbidding you from overfeeding the kid intended to be the first fruits offering, which would naturally be done on its own mother's milk. The reason is that doing this causes sloppy kid syndrome, which makes the animal temporarily appear to be lame, a defect that makes it unacceptable, which means the offerer gets to keep it. So this law is not forbidding us from eating dairy and meat together. It is forbidding the premeditated defrauding of the person God has appointed to reconcile you to him. With that in mind, let's move to Ananias and Sapphira. The story starts by telling us that the congregation had all things in common. So when they sold their belongings, they laid the full profit at the apostles' feet. But Ananias and Sapphira sold their property and decided that they would only offer a portion, which was totally fine as it was a voluntary offering. The problem is that they laid it at the apostles' feet to make it appear as though they had given the entire profit. This makes their offering even worse than Cain's. As far as we are told, Cain didn't pretend he brought what was required. He just brought whatever, then got mad and killed his brother for bringing what was required, and was more than happy to leave God's presence once he got the assurance of his own life. But these two did exactly what this law forbids and reaped the immediate consequences of their action. Shabuot is about offering the first fruits of your harvest to God. So don't try to cheat God out of what he commanded. Give him your best and the due honor and fear that he is more than worthy of.